we started to look like at the beginning of the day. But then very rapidly, we started to see this huge disconnect start to occur where the Dow was starting to rally back. Even though it had gotten hit, the Dow was starting to rally back. Dow was down 200 plus points in the pre-market and then got all the way back and actually finished in positive territory and hit all-time highs during the session. Meanwhile, you take a look over at the NASDAQ, it was just getting absolutely hit and hit hard. Down about 160 to start off the day, continued to move to the downside, and then actually, if you look at the final hour of the day, you see another 100 plus points of the NASDAQ sell-off that actually turned out to be a 2.5% move to the downside. 340 points, that's a large move. We got another one coming today that at least the start of the day, once again, it's kind of interesting because we still have volumes. We still had a pretty interesting volatility yesterday. We were somewhere between 22, 25, 23 and a half is about where we closed, give or take. We had huge volumes once again, 44.7 million option contracts trading again yesterday. So a monstrous day once again. We had energy outperforming. It was on fire. Financials were definitely kicking in. We had airlines and cruise ships. They were having a pretty decent day. It was technology, consumer discretionary names, utilities, those were all of the names that were getting hit to the downside, down about 2%. But a lot of those very big names, the names that have a huge influence. So we talk about Apple all the time. We talk about Tesla all the time. But those are names that have a monstrous influence when they start to move and they start to pull the rest of the market. But those giant mega cap stocks really do have a huge influence. So we had Intel and Apple and Tesla. We had Salesforce and Microsoft all moving to the downside. Zoom as well, getting hit pretty hard yesterday. Semiconductors absolutely getting slammed. They were down about 3.5% or so yesterday. And so that all looked pretty awful. We looked at this morning. Things didn't look all that bad. If you just took a look at the Dow is looking, it's down maybe 50 points. That's okay. But as soon as you look over at the S&P, it's down 27. You start to scratch your head and say, hey, what's happening and what's getting sold today? Well, it's the NASDAQ once again. NASDAQ was indicated down almost 2% on the open today, and then it's just progressively continued to trade poorly. Actually, it's come back well off the lows. We were down over 500 points on the NASDAQ within the last half hour or so. We were down 520 points on the NASDAQ. We were down 230 points on the Dow. So the Dow started to catch up and started to feel some of that momentum to the downside. Started to see a little bit of a recovery, of chopping wood a little bit, down 190 on the Dow, down 140 on the Dow. Started to look over at the NASDAQ, start to make a little bit of a move, or a big move actually, in a short period of time. We went from down 520. I got to take a quick look just because it's moving so fast. Now we're down 260 points on the NASDAQ, and that's actually a little bit worse. We actually were improving. We were down closer towards being down only, and I say only because we were down 520, but only a couple of hundred points. But a lot of volatility getting hit into play so far. Matter of fact, we saw a little spike in the vol that came back down a little bit, but it got up and over, well over 26, so that was something. Semiconductors, once again, getting hammered pretty hard. So you've got that combination of tech, you've got the semis, all moving and having a big push and a big influence, of course, on the NASDAQ on this push to the downside. And by the way, we'll probably be talking about this later on. I'll be on the halftime report today, but we do have Chairman Powell as well. So it's always interesting to see how that's going to shape up. We don't know. We never know, but we will find out in not too many hour and a half from now. We're going to find out exactly what's going on there. And if we have the opportunity, of course, we'll get you unusual. We're going to give you some unusual right now. I got two of them like we like to do here at 9:30 in the morning, 10:30 Eastern, I know. So, Williams Corp, WMB. Another one, we're going back towards energy. I talked about energy. We talked about the price of crude recently as it's pushed, and it was hovering near that 60 number, then started to move even up a little bit further, closer towards 61. Had a big jump in a lot of those energy names yesterday. William, not really one of those names that's usually going to run with those beta names that we talk about all the time, or even the Exxons and the Chevrons and those kind of names, because we're talking pipelines. But stock was trading right around 22 and a half. They're buying the May 22s, about 5,000 of those. Some pretty decent size there. They started buying those somewhere, call it close to $2, and spreading them off against the May 24 calls, getting somewhere close to about 75 cents. So looking at spreads here, which does make some sense in this type of name because you're able to offset. You don't probably expect to see the stock actually get up and through that 24 level, so why not sell that premium? So this looks like a pretty smart trade and a pretty aggressive trade that we're seeing right there. NIO, we talk about Chinese electric vehicles a lot because there are so many different names, and obviously we have Tesla here, and obviously GM and Ford, and everybody is starting to move into those categories and accelerating into those categories. But NIO, stock was trading anywhere between 43 and 46. I'm sorry, but that's how wide these ranges have been. So it was trading between 43 and 46. They're buying the 45 strike calls that expire Friday. So just keep that in mind. These expire very, very rapidly. We need a move, but they are just about at the money because they're the 45 strike calls. They're going from anywhere between $1.20 all the way up to about $3, depending on where that stock was moving, as it was moving along with the NASDAQ that got hit and then started to accelerate to the upside. So pretty big wide range there, but 11,000 of those were trading as well. So a lot of interesting, unusual option activity. We got plenty more. I mean, it started off a little slow today, and then we just started to really accelerate from 9:15 until about 9:30 here Central Time. We had an incredible number of unusuals, and we were very, very, matter of fact, me and the team were talking about how slow it felt, and then suddenly, a second we bring that up, of course, it starts to accelerate, but it should be interesting, and if we have an opportunity, we've got some unusual for you on the halftime report today with Scott Wapner and the gang. Folks, have a great day of trading. Knowledge is king. You must understand the derivatives markets. This is where the action is. I talk about it all the time, but when you're averaging over 40 plus million contracts per day, and the highest average we'd ever had was 20 million per day, it says a lot about just how active we really are. So enjoy what you're doing and have that discipline always. Folks, have a great day of trading.